Hello, I am going to be pointing out the bones of the axial and appendicular skeleton, starting with the anterior of the skull. So let me see, we have here the frontal bone, and we have here the nasal bone, and here is the ethmoid bone in here, and also back in here, a portion of it is part of the orbit. And then we have the vomer bone right here, so pointing in the way right here, and then we have the maxilla here, maxillae for both sides, and then the mandible bone here, mandible bone right in here. Let me see, did I miss anything? Oh, and then we have the, let me see if I can, there's the lacrimal bone that's right in here, which also is a part of the orbit, and the zygomatic bone here. Moving on, I'm going to turn this little guy around and do the posterior, so you can see that, of the skull. And then you can see the mandible, hopefully you can see that from here. And then the occipital bone here. And then we have the parietal bone here. Parietal bone here. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can see it right here. Parietal bone here. And then the temporal bone is over here on this side right here, and we'll be able to see that better once we turn him and do it laterally, because then you can see a little bit better all those bones on this side. So like here with the temporal bone, and then you can see the mandible bone here, for the jawbone, and again from this side, the ethmoid bone right in here, the frontal part of the skull, and the side view of the maxilla, and side view of the lateral view of the zygomatic bone. This section right here, I believe, is the zygomatic process. And then we have, what did I miss? Oh, and then the occipital bone here from the side. You can see the part of the occipital bone, and the parietal bone here. Then, and you really can't see from there, but right in here, again, from the side view is the lacrimal bone, and then back in there is the ethmoid bone. Moving on to the vertebral column. Let's turn this guy around again, so you can see this. I'm going to try to sit back down here and show you. I might have to lift him up a little bit. Okay, so this is the vertebral column, and we start up here with the atlas bone, which is the first bone in the cervical vertebrae, and the C1, and then right below it, and then the skull sits like right on, like the atlas, holds it up or whatever. And then right here, the C2 is the axis bone, and it helps with the movement of our head. And the 5 following bones out of the 7 of the cervical vertebrae are here. So it's 1, 2, you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we have the next 12 bones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got those right? Yeah. Those 12 bones make up the thoracic vertebrae. And then we have the 5 after that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and those make up the lumbar vertebrae. This area right here is the sacrum, and the sacrum is made up of 4 bones that are, oh, let's see if you can see that actually, right here, the sacrum. And these 4 bones are fused together, and usually there's 4 bones there for the sacrum. Sometimes it could be either 3 to 5, but the average is 4 bones. And then here, this little guy down here is the coccyx, and it's the tailbone, and it is usually made up of like 3 small little bones that are also fused together. Okay, so now we are going to turn this puppy around again, and we're going to go over the thoracic cage. And so move that foot out of the way, and the thoracic cage is this first part right here is the body of the sternum, right in here, and this part right here is the manubrium, part of the sternum, and then we have the 7 ribs. Well, there's 12, but we're going to go with the first 7 because we're going to be talking about the true ribs, and those are the first 7 ribs. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the first 7 ribs, and they are called the true ribs, as I said. And the reason for that is because they are attached to the spine from the back, and they also come together and are attached to the sternum. Then we have ribs 8, 9, and 10, which are called the false ribs, and that is because they are attached to the spine, but they are not attached to the sternum. So that would be the reason for that. And then we have ribs 11 and 12, which are called floating ribs, because as you can see, they are attached from the back, but they're just kind of hanging out there. There's nothing going on in the front. And ribs 8, 9, and 10 are also considered by some the floating ribs, again, because they're attached from the back only, and they, but they at least do have are fused to one another. So there you go. So moving on to what's next? The appendicular skeleton, starting with the pectoral girdle and the upper limb. So the 2 major bones of the pectoral girdle are the clavicle here, clavicle bones, and then the sternum, not sternum, scapula. Excuse me, scapula. And then moving to the limb, the upper limb, we have the humerus bone, and then we have here the radius bone and the ulna. And then going to the hand, I don't know, try to see if I can I can't hold him up and try to do this at the same time. But we go to the hand, and then the first, actually I'm going to lay him down a little bit so I can maybe try to get the hand here so you can see. So with the hand, these bones in here, the wrist bones, these bones in here are the carpal bones, and we have I don't know if I can point with the sphenoid bone here. We have the lunate bone here, which is shaped like a half moon, so lunate bone. And then we have the triquetrum bone, on this over here, and then right, can't see it because of the screw, but there's a little bone that's right next to it, and it's called the appendicular bone. And then we have the hamate bone here, and then the capitate bone here, and trapezoid bone on the other side of that, and then we have the trapezium bone on this side by the thumb. Just put that bone. Then these bones right here are called the metacarpal bones. They are in the palm of our hand, and then the bones down here are our phalanges, which are our fingers. Moving on, we move on to the pelvic girdle, which I'm going to have to lift this guy up for. I don't know if you, oh, almost fell over in the chair. Here we go. Yeah, you can see from there. Okay, so, and this is the pelvic girdle, and here is where the ilium is, right here, and then we have the pubic bone here, and then we have the ischium bone. Let's see if I'm trying to do it and to right here, and then moving on to, I'm going to stand him up since you only need to see. So we have the femur bone here, and the fibula bone, and then we have the tibia bone on this side. I'm going to set back down, and let's try to go over the foot, the bones in the foot. Oh, and let me forget the patella. I almost forgot the patella. That bone right there in the knee, the one that gives me so much trouble, that would be the patella bone. And then we have, let's see if I can move closer. It's so hard to record into this at the same time. But. Okay, so then this bone here, the talus bone, ankle, wait, I'm blocking my, let's see if I can, right there, and this side is the talus bone, and then the cuboid bone is right here on the side, right here on where the pinky toe, like this. Then you have the navicular bone on this side here, and then there's the cuneiform bones. There's 3 of them, and there's the lateral bone here that's furthest away from the big toe, and then the intermediate bone here in the middle, and then you have the medial bone that's attached to the big toe. Then you have the metatarsal bones here in the middle, and then you have the phalanges, the toes there. So that's it. That's covered the axial and appendicular bones of the skeleton. Thanks.